Okay, so I'm going to be drawing a small office today. I already have an idea of what it's going to look like, yeah, it's just going to be a pretty simple office using Sketchup and V-ray. So here we go. So for interior dimensions, I like to use the foot scale. So I like everything to be in 1 foot increments. It's just kind of my internal OCD, I guess. But so we'll start this by just making a 8 foot by 12 foot floor. And yeah, like I said, I kind of have an idea of what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing a tiled floor with LED backlighting. It's kind of a design thing I've been including in a lot of my drawings recently. So we'll get started on that. So here's going to be our floor. In the middle, like I said, there's going to be a tiled surface here. So I'm going to make some 4 foot by 4 foot tiles in the floor. And I'm going to set some offsets in each of these squares so that an LED strip can run in between. Now there are extensions you can get to automatically segment and offset tiled surfaces like this. I don't have them installed on this computer, but so if you have an extension to segment these automatically and offset them, you won't have to come in and manually offset like I'm doing now. And I'm just creating a 1/4 of an inch channel in between these tiles and on the rim for our LED strip to fit. Okay. Alright, so there's our basic floor. That's basically, you can kind of imagine what these tiles will look like now. Let's make some walls. 8 foot wall here. And an 8 foot wall here. Alright, good. I'm going to go ahead and make this one color. Let's go ahead and draw our desk. Desks are normally 30 inches tall. Pull this out 2 feet. It's the depth of our desk. It also lines up perfectly with this our LED strip here. It's good. Alright, on this side I want a window. So these 2 walls are going to be exterior walls basically. I want a window, so let's make a little window cut out here. We'll do 18 by 18. And then on this wall it will stretch it to here. And this is, I know, 10 feet away because that's 4, 4, and 2. So 10 feet away. 18. Good. And there our window will be there. On this side we're going to have some storage for the office. So like a series of built-ins. So again, we'll use our floor tiles for measurement. So we'll do an 8 foot section from here to here. That's 7 feet tall. Like I said, 8 foot long. Okay. I want these to be floating. I want them to have the illusion of floating. So I'm going to create a cavity underneath, which will be lit from the bottom to kind of give it that floating effect. We'll also split these cabinets into a top and bottom section, and we'll use this desk line for our visual anchor point. And we'll just make 2 foot doors. Nice and even. Okay. And again, I'm going to be offsetting each of these squares just because these are also going to be they're going to be a glossy material. And once you get into V-ray, V-ray doesn't recognize single lines. There must be a gap in between There's to be a gap in between tiles if you want the tiles to distinguish themselves from one another. So, which again could be made easier if you had the extension for segmenting, but it's not that difficult to just come in here and get rid of these. Okay, good. looking good. This is going to be the basis of our design. We're also going to create a ceiling, obviously. Paint that white. Okay, and for our ceiling, what I've been doing in these ultra minimal designs lately is doing a offset to match the LEDs on the floor. We'll make that 2 inches. We'll raise it up a ½ inch. So there's our ceiling, and there will be an LED strip basically that runs around, providing light for every direction, essentially. Alright, so this is basically our room. Let's go ahead and give it some more volume. We'll give it this cavity. We will separate our panels. Now you can kind of see what I mean, that there's visual separation now between these panels. And of course our window. Since this is an exterior wall, we'll push this back 12 inches. And we'll delete that. There we go. Good. Let's go ahead and draw in our window. A rectangle and a rectangle. Okay. Alright. So now that we have our basic 3-dimensional room, we are going to start to add materials to it, and this is done through V-ray. So we will bring up our V-ray asset editor. Expand it. Okay, so to get started, we will start with our floor. Now I said this is a tiled floor. I'm thinking it's going to be a black shiny acrylic, so we'll go into materials. I happen to know where the appropriate looking thing would be. Plastics. We want plastic, simple, shiny black. Paint that in. Now we also want, I'm going to have some glossy here, but these are going to be white so that it matches the wall, so I need to create that material. So for that we're going to go into Create, Materials, and grab a generic one. Change the color to white. We're going to bump the reflection up, turn the IOR on, and rename it Gloss White. My gloss white selected. We're also going to do the table in gloss white. Okay, good. Now we're going to pull our LED material, which is an emissive. I use this LED 8000. It's a really bright, almost piercing blue LED. Looks pretty good in minimal designs, I find, in my opinion. So I'll go ahead and do our LED there, and our LED there. For our exterior walls, I want those to be concrete, so we'll go grab some concrete. Let's do a simple patterned concrete like that. Okay, and it's too squunched up and regimented, so let's make these a little bigger. Let's do 60 inches. Yeah, that looks good. Good. Okay. Let's go ahead and take a look at what this is going to look like, roughly. We'll come in here. Let's get this lined up. And a bit further in. See what that looks like. Good. Okay. So you can kind of see the glossiness on the cabinetry and the floor. Still got to do the window, and you can see our LEDs are showing up both places. I'm going to go ahead and turn the daylight off for this next part, which is going to be lighting. well, that lighting that is after I do our window here. Let's just go ahead and draw in this window. I'm going to have it meet in the corner, the glass meet in the corner. For our window frame, we will use just some anodized aluminum. Push that back an inch. And for our glass, we will use glass. Some neutral window glass. Good. Okay, now let's add some lighting. So we have this LED strip on the ceiling, which is meant to function as the full ceiling lighting for the room. So we want to simulate that. So I'm going to go ahead and add a box light here to our ceiling. And for all box lights I use, I always offset them 1/16 of an inch from whatever surface they're sitting on, just to make sure that there's no interference between the box light itself and the texture. So this layer here and the box light, I don't want them physically touching. If you zoom in, you can see there's about 1/16 of an inch there. I also want the underside of our table lit. So we'll add another box light from there to there. And again, I'm going to offset this 1/16 of an inch. And our last light will be underneath our cabinets, which will just be another box light from here to here. And again, we'll offset that by 1/16 of an inch. Okay. I think we are about ready now to add in some objects into our scene. I want to first set up, make sure this looks good. Okay. Right, of course, the lighting. We have to make these invisible. To make these light boxes invisible, I forgot about that. So all of our rectangle lights, we're going to go to Options, Invisible, and we're also going to turn off Affect Reflections because of our glossy floor. We don't want those white boxes to show up on our floors. So we're going to turn those off. Reflections. Okay, let's get a quick look at that again. So you can see that the white box here disappeared, and it also disappeared on our glossy floor. Good. Scene is good. I think I'm going to move us in a few feet. There we go. That's about where I want it, just so that this line matches up with our bottom. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. Also going to up the intensity a little bit of our first rectangle light, the one on the ceiling, and if you want to double check that this is the correct one, you could just click on it. If I were on a different one and you click on this, it'll automatically take you up to here. So let's go ahead and up this to 45. Add a scene. So this is our first scene. There we go. That's better. Okay. Let's start adding some objects. Now, ordinarily I would go to the 3D warehouse to grab an object, like a chair, a monitor, desk plant, a lamp, that kind of stuff. You could search for that here and just download them directly in. However, I've already kind of done that in a previous session, so I'll just jump over to this other model and I will grab the office chair and copy it. And again, you can do this with components as well. If you have your own components saved in, you can just import them straight in. I'm just, for expedience sake, I'm just going to copy in these objects that I've already sorted out. Okay, there we go. Let's get in our scene here and just center it up. There we go. Forward. It. Good. Okay. And then, yeah, the other objects you would normally add in the office are obviously a desktop monitor, a lamp maybe, and some plants, perhaps even a laptop on the table. I had done that in a previous version, and I have them kind of here. Now, ordinarily, when I started here, I went to the warehouse and grabbed each one of these. This is just the same plant, just duplicated and downsized. This lamp right here, again, just a download from the warehouse, and the only thing I did to it was I went into the lamp itself and installed a spotlight. So I just installed a spotlight up in there and have it facing the correct, the correct direction for the lamp. So yeah, so these things right here can just be moved in. So ordinarily you do them one at a time. Here I have the luxury of just moving them over. Right about there. Move it towards us a few inches. There we go. It looks just about right. Let's move these over. Okay. In terms of these models, I haven't messed with any of their textures other than the MacBook, which I made the gold a specific V-ray color, aluminum anodized bronze. I made that into a V-ray texture. And then also on the monitor, I selected this face and went into V-ray and created a emissive material. So basically this white screen will emit light, which is handy because it's supposed to be a computer monitor, so there would be light coming from it normally. So let's see what this looks like. Perfect. Okay, let's see what this looks like. Alright, it looks like the emissive layer from my monitor didn't come in, so let's go ahead and fix that right now. So we select the layer we want, go into the asset editor. It's that down. Let's see how that looks. There we go. Okay, and from here you can see the cone light in action inside the lamp. So by placing it inside the lamp, you actually get the effect of the lamp itself, so the shade it's casting. If we were to zoom in on this area, you can kind of see in this image even that there's a faint circle of light here, which is being coned in from the shape of that lamp. So I would recommend, if you download lamps from the warehouse, to embed your cone light in them, or sphere light, or whatever kind of light you're using, because V-ray will actually account for the geometry of the light itself. So yeah, we are nearly ready for a final render here. The last thing I'm going to do is assign some exterior landscaping to this. So we'll X out of this, and to do that, the preferred way I like to do it is to input a dome light in the model. So I'll just have the dome light there, and we will go to our light settings, and the dome light is going to account for everything outside, so we can actually turn off the SketchUp sunlight by clicking that. So we're going to go into our dome light. I know by experience that this dome light needs to be at least 20 intensity for it to provide any kind of exterior lighting. And I'm also going to apply an HDRI file so that we get not just the SketchUp horizon, we get a landscape. So I'm going to go into HDR files and pick the one I want. And we're going to go back and also set this to a sphere for the shape, because we do not want the SketchUp horizon line interfering with our window should that horizon line be at the window. So we can see here that we have a mountainous background with no fake horizon line. That's perfect. So let's go back into our scene, see what it looks like. The dome light and the HDRI file do tax the hardware of a PC a little bit. It's just, that's just the rule of the game. The more complicated they get, the more time it takes. And you can see here that our mountainous landscape outside is being rendered, which looks pretty cool. Alright, and yeah, this is looking pretty much like I want it. I think the last thing I'm going to do is change this floor to another type of concrete because I'm not really sure. It looks a little bit too much like drywall on the floor, so we're going to change that really quickly. Let's get some concrete, do a light concrete. And we're going to increase the texture size so that it doesn't look uniform. Good. This is really the final check before we go into our rendering settings and bump all the stuff up, bump all the settings up. So yeah, there we go. That's pretty much how I want it to look. That's actually exactly what I want it to look like. So I'm going to stop this. We're going to go into our asset editor and change the quality to very high, the render output to 1080p. Now, if I were doing this for a client or for a business, I would probably try and max out the resolution. Those files will take a long time to finish. I mean, on just a 1080p picture on my machine, which is not a slouch machine at all, takes, depending on the amount of objects you have, the amount of emissive textures you have, this one will probably take 10 to 15 minutes to put out on very high. But yeah, this is really all I do. I'm not going to mess with the camera settings right now. You can come back here on your final attempt and change the exposure to make it brighter or darker, just like you would a standard camera. I think in this model, though, I've pretty much already got the fine-tuning down with just the lighting in the model, so I don't need to mess with that at all. So yeah, this is pretty much it. So I'm just going to very high, 1080p, widescreen, and we'll let it run. So yeah, thanks a lot, guys. If you'd like to see me design something in particular, please leave it in the comments. If you like my work, follow my Instagram or check out my portfolio, my website. Yeah, thanks for watching.